Mr. Victor Gao, let me come to you first. Is this, at this stage, essentially a pro-democracy movement more than it is a movement directed at the measures which have been taken by the Chinese government to fight against COVID?
Thank you very much for having me. I think the fact that there are multiple protests in different cities in China is very rare to start with, and also it warrants very close analysis by the Chinese government. And the Chinese government authorities really need to act very quickly to get to the bottom of the situation and to address the legitimate concerns of the protesters, but also to emphasize the need for the continuation of the dynamic zero COVID policy to start with. And the goal of this policy is to save as many people in China as possible from deaths of infections and from getting infections themselves. I would say China has really achieved a spectacular success in dealing with the pandemic up to today. But from now on, we also need to be more flexible in normalizing the daily lives of the people, in making the restrictions less hurtful, less inconvenient to the people. Therefore, the public enemy is not one group of people versus the other. The public enemy remains the virus. We need to get united in coming up with more effective, more scientifically oriented ways to deal with the virus. On the basis of huge success China has made over the past 3 years.
I understand what you're saying, but you haven't answered my question. Is this essentially a pro-democracy movement at this stage?
First of all, China calls itself a democracy that works. And if you look at the economic performance over the past 43 years, you cannot say China is not a democracy, because where is the proof? The proof is that we constantly on a daily basis improve the living standards of all of us in China. Now, pro-democracy, it really, you are talking about what you mean.
Now, let me explain what I'm meaning.
I completely disagree with some of the demands.
Let me explain what I'm meaning, since you're asking, and it's a valid question, sir. Pro-democracy in the Western context, or even in the Indian context, where you've got leaders, people in China calling for Xi Jinping to step down, for equal rights, from a freedom from oppression. These are hallmarks of what people across the world would call democratic protests. We've seen this in '89 in China, which led up to the Tiananmen massacre. Is this something like that? It's more widespread.
Absolutely not. First of all, allow me to emphasize one point. If the Chinese nation learned anything from what happened in 1989, it is this, and I hope I will have your ears. That is, China cannot afford to have a revolution. Whatever problems we have, we need to solve the problems through peaceful means. And rioting, chaos, anarchy are not what suits the Chinese circumstances. And therefore, I think we need to put a premium on stability and sustainability of our development. The voices raised by some of the protesters are absolutely wrong.